And hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you enjoyed this fine legal education content. And today is the day I earned that subscription. For today's evening coverage, we are doing an article that is full of the stupid. It is from Rolling Stone that claims that YouTube is cashing in on misogyny and targeted harassment. Ooh. So Rolling Stone has come out against the opinions of others. They don't like some of those opinions, and they think those opinions must be stopped. So we're going to read this article and learn all about the new wonderful world of YouTube misogyny, racism, and targeted harassment. How exciting. So here it is from Rolling Stone. New report claims YouTube is cashing in on misogyny, racism, and targeted harassment. Now, right away, I'd like to take note that misogyny is normally defined as hatred against women, which necessarily requires a definition of what a woman is. So I suppose in some ways the left has cured misogyny by preventing there being any definition of women. Does Rolling Stone know what a woman is? How can you have misogyny if you don't have women? Or don't know what a woman is? These are good questions. Questions that will not be answered by this article, I'm sure. But let's go ahead and read this and learn all about the stupid. Okay. In an exclusive interview with Rolling Stone, the bot Sentinel founder, Christopher Boyes explains how the video sharing giant seems to be profiting off of hate speech. I'd also like to take note at this point in the article that there is no legal definition of hate speech because hate speech is legal in the United States. Now, of course, different platforms have their own private definitions of hate speech, but they say hate speech, which I guess is the speech that Rolling Stone hates, which is all the speech not woke enough to print, presumably. Okay. On YouTube, engagement is king. I have to say that I do enjoy the engagement. I enjoy when you guys engage with me. I enjoy you being here. I enjoy engaging with the chat. I enjoy sharing my views with you. So yes, engagement is pretty nice. The platform, which thrives on its dual status as both a social media network and news space. Whoever said that YouTube was a news space? I'm not even sure that YouTube claims to be a news space. It's more of a social media network, if anything, but okay. The YouTube pays creators handsomely for making videos that get large amount of views and interactions from any given audience. I mean, on some level, that's just the democratization of speech. If people are viewing it and interacting with it and liking it, then people are voting with their feet or their mouse clicks, as it were. And so the YouTube rewarding people based on the fact that people like to watch that content would be a pretty libertine thing to do. So I guess we're opposed to that. To keep the worst out, the sheer influx of content is moderated with a series of community guidelines that are intended to make YouTube a safer community while still giving creators freedoms according to the site. Now, I'll take note, of course, the inherent tension between freedom and security. Well, inherent tension is not fair. They aren't always in conflict. But it was Ben Franklin, of course, who once said, those who give up freedom for temporary safety deserve neither freedom nor safety. Now, I don't think that freedom and safety are always in conflict. I don't think to have one is to necessarily have one to have the other. But there is a point of conflict, like there is between any two values, right? Not all values are juxtaposed opposites, but all values at some level contradict with one another or oppose one another at some level. Otherwise, they'd just be the same value. So if you have more than one value, they're going to conflict at some point. So freedom and security, or freedom and safety, or freedom and whatever, are two different values one could have. But there might be conflict. And then, of course, the question becomes, how are we defining safety? How are we defining safety? Does it mean that people aren't allowed to be mean? Does it mean that people aren't allowed to have the uncomfortable or unpopular opinions? Is that what we mean by safety? And that's probably what we mean by safety. Safety is also a wonderful, wonderful word that is used by tyrants because it's so flexible. right? We're doing it for safety. Maybe you are, or maybe you're just calling whatever you're doing safety. It's a wonderfully flexible euphemism at times. But according to a new investigation by research firm Sentinel, and just incidentally, who crowned them king and why are we trusting them is not going to be established by this article at any point, I assume. We're just taking Sentinel's word as gospel for some reason. Found at least 24 YouTube channels with flagrant policy violations were allowed to continue posting without censure from YouTube moderators. The Rolling Stones would like them to be censored. Even more alarming, they're still getting paid. I mean, again, they are bringing traffic to YouTube and people are watching them and people like them. But maybe this article will convince me they're bad, very, very bad, and this deserves some sort of remedy. Okay, let's give that a shot. In an exclusive interview, Sentinel founder Christopher Boyes tells Rolling Stones that the report uncovered a pattern of unchecked hate speech, misogyny, which again necessarily requires that you define what a woman is, so any time will be fine, racism, and targeted harassment singularly focused on famous and identifiable women. Really? Okay. The most mentioned women in the channels, and this is the channels they were reviewing, so the channels they were reviewing were apparently targeted. How about the other channels? Oh, we don't care about those. The most mentioned women in the channels they were reviewing were Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, and actress Amber Heard, both of whom have remained extremely vocal about the long-term mental and emotional effects of targeted harassment. And then the article notes here that while the report notes that Sentinel had been hired by Heard's team in the past to determine how much online hate was organic, they write that no one hired Sentinel to compile and publish that report. Yeah, but I mean, even assuming that Amber Heard didn't directly have anything to do with this report, which I will take as a given for the moment, there's probably a reason Amber Heard picked your firm. That you're the kind of firm that would go to bat for her. So even assuming that Amber Heard had nothing to do with this report, which, you know, fine, your culture is one that attracts a woman like Amber Heard, who is not a good person. She senses something in your company that will help to protect her, not a good person, from the mean people who want to express their opinion about her. The opinion mostly being of the form, she's a liar who lies, and a domestic abuser, which for some reason continues to be shielded by the media. We're supposed to listen to victims and take them seriously, but apparently not when those victims are men. Because Johnny Depp told a story about domestic violence, and where was the media to tell his story? His story doesn't count, I guess, for some reason. It's only Amber Heard's story. She's the victim of harassment. Now, I'd like to note, what form is this harassment exactly taking? Is it people saying that she's a bad person? Is it people saying that she's a person of bad character? Is it people saying that she's a liar, that she's an abuser? Is that the harassment? Are people being mean to her? We don't like the meanness? Okay. In a review of just 5 single-purpose hate channels focused entirely on Markle, Sentinel estimated the channels received a combined $42,000 in payments. I mean, okay. I don't particularly personally have a particularly strong opinion of Markle. If you like Markle, great. If you don't like Markle, great. I think there's much point there. From what little I know, there does seem to be some points of valid criticism. She is very much a public figure. She's been paid to have a very public podcast. She does thrust herself very deliberately into the media space. And so she is getting commentary, some of it negative. As you know, it's hard to please everyone all the time. Since all of YouTube's videos run with advertisements, it's understood YouTube also receives a share of the process. Oh my God, YouTube is touching that dirty, dirty money from people having the wrong think. YouTube is to blame, boys, tells Rolling Stone. A lot of these folks would not do what they're doing if YouTube was not rewarding them. And let's be clear here, they are rewarding them. When you allow these folks to monetize this content, and you're the company that's paying them, at the end of the day, you're pretty much facilitating the harassment, the vitriol we're currently seeing. Is vitriol the same thing as harassment? Are people not allowed to have contrary views? Why are you allowed to express your views, boys, and they're not allowed to express their views? Just out of raw curiosity. I raised this point, by the way, because he's the one calling for censorship. I'm pointing out the inherent tension in his view, right? I don't necessarily mind that he has a point of view, but he's the one calling for views to be silenced. So I'm applying his own standard to him to point out the absurdity of it, just for the sake of clarity. I always like these articles that are opposing freedom of speech because it's always inherently self-contradictory. It's like, I want to have restrictions on freedom of speech. And the first thing I think to myself is, I agree with you, and the first place we should start is with you. Because that's just getting what you want, right? It's like, oh, not me. Oh, I understand, the other people, right? So pointing out that their views are inherently self-contradictory amuses me to no end. When contacted for comment, a YouTube spokesman who had not seen the report said the site takes these sorts of violations seriously. We are committed to rigorously enforcing these policies equally for all creators and encourage all creators to flag content they believe violates our wondrous community guidelines. Very exciting. Very super exciting for sure. I mean, the levels of excitement I feel, I don't even really know any bounds. There is so much excitement. Yeah. Let's read on. Under YouTube's current community guidelines, the site prohibits malicious insults, as opposed to non-malicious insults, I suppose, focused on famous or identifiable individuals or based on a person's appearance or status, like race or being a survivor of domestic abuse. But according to the report, channels that focus their content on reactions and opinions of Markle and Heard are often allowed to post defamatory content entirely unchecked. Now, I suppose here they're not even close to using anything approaching the legal definition of entrapment. That would just be way too much to hope for. But still, you know, my hope is evergreen, because, you know, that would be nice, but probably not so much. No. Others employ deceptive practices, like including thumbnails that don't correlate to a video's content in order to get past moderators. What the heck? I don't even know what that... Okay. According to the report, these channels aren't slipping under the radar. They're commonplace. Dun, dun, dun. At least 29 YouTube channels were allowed to monetize content that contained harmful, defamatory, and again, please stop using that word, Rolling Stone. I'm sure you know better. You know what defamatory speech is. Please stop using that word. It hurts me. At least 29 YouTube channels were allowed to monetize content that contained harmful in what respect? What harm did the speech cause? Show me on the doll where the speech caused you harm. Defamatory and threatening. Again, show me language that's a true threat. We'll talk. Language towards Markle, according to the report. An additional 22 channels posted at least 30,000 videos that made up 80% of all negative anti-Meghan Markle titles on YouTube, like, and apparently this is the hate speech now. This is the wrong think speech. This is the hate speech, so brace yourself. Titles like, Booed at Buckingham, Meg Puss with rage as mourners screamed, loudest booed, Meg back as Queen's dead. What? That's the hate speech? That's what you got? Really? And she's unwelcome. Meghan can't hide despair over absence in Scotland after Queen's death report. What? These were your best examples? These were the best examples you picked of the hate speech, of the harassment? This? You couldn't do any better? I'm supposed to start worrying about the mean thoughts online because of that title? What? Okay. That's all right. Fine. This single purpose hate channels, and if that's what hate looks like, man, I tell you what, if that is what hate looks like, then if that's what people mean when they think about hate, then I guess we've solved hate. That was nice. If that's as hateful as it gets, I guess we solved hate. So that's the good news. The single-purpose hate channels, which apparently are very mildly critical at Meghan Markle, focus solely on anti-Markle sentiment, mention negative and defamatory remarks. Again, you keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. And incidentally, I also don't think you think it means what you seem to think we should think it means. I think I got that grammatically right. They know better is basically what I was trying to say in a much more complicated way. Towards Markle in 94% of their content. Okay. According to the report, 3 top producing channels mention Markle's name at least 15,000 times in videos that received a combined 76 million views. In comparison, Boy Says Catherine, the Princess of Wales, is mentioned less than 3,000 times in videos discussing the royal families, and most references are overwhelmingly positive. Well, I'm not a big fan of the royals. I don't really follow who they are or what they do. But I have heard of Meghan Markle. I have to be honest, I've not really heard of Catherine, Princess of Wales. Maybe the reason that there's a disparity is because the one person goes out of their way to try to make themselves a public figure in every possible sense, and the other person doesn't. Maybe that's the problem. Could be. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to work on the big S, make it a little bit smaller so it doesn't completely cover my face when it goes up on screen. I was experimenting with the notifications and obviously fudged that one a little, but that's okay. We fix it as we go. We improve as we learn. We learn from my misfortunes too. Anyways, thank you for the super chat, Glow T. Cashing in on the public's morbid fascination with Johnny Depp trial, one creator made 128 videos making hurtful comments. Now, note here they say hurtful. They don't even say defamatory. They don't say hate speech. They don't say harassing. Hurtful. Hurtful comments. Hurtful comments is the thing that we're complaining about. I mean, you know, really? Hurtful? Seriously? That's what we're doing? Okay. I mean, if you say so. Hurtful comments about Heard's body and defamatory claims about her testimony in the trial. Again, please stop using the word defamatory. It's beginning to irritate me. What defamatory claims? Which ones? What false statements did they make? What were they? Were they made with the knowledge of falsity or the recklessness as would be required for a public figure? Okay. Within the videos, Heard's name was mentioned over 6,000 times, according to the reports. Okay. In 128 videos concerning the Depp trial, they mentioned Amber Heard 6,000 times. What exactly are you trying to prove? I would imagine her name came up a little bit, yes. In 128 videos, I mentioned her name 6,000 times. Okay. Fine. That's great. According to the report, another YouTuber continually posts policy-violating threats against Markle and is yet to be removed from the site. In one live video, the YouTuber expressed his belief that Markle deserves to be strangled to death, unless he was saying he intends to do that. That's hyperbole. We still believe in hyperbole, right, Rolling Stone? And said as recently as Monday that Markle and her husband, Prince Harry, should be shot at dawn. Again, is there any sort of idea about being potentially hyperbolic? Maybe. I mean, maybe he's just a little frustrated. That's a threat. You have a very strange definition, unless there's something more clear. Unless he's calling for someone to shoot them, or do you understand the idea of rhetoric at all, Rolling Stone? That would be great. Boys tells Rolling Stone that he personally reviewed the video multiple times. Well, personally reported the video multiple times to both YouTube and an individual at Google, but the videos have remained up. Oh, they're not listening to boys. Oh no. Less than an hour after the request for comment on multiple specific videos, YouTube pulled at least 2 videos down for violating the site's policy on harassment and bullying. Upon review, we removed 2 videos shared by Rolling Stone for violating our harassment and cyberbullying policies, which prohibit targeting an individual with threats or prolonged and malicious insults. And incidentally, when they were reciting the standard earlier, they just said malicious insults, but apparently the standard is prolonged and malicious. So way to go, Rolling Stone, on misquoting the relevant standard. Prolonged and malicious insults based on protected attributes, the spokesman said, adding they were still reviewing 2 additional videos flagged by Rolling Stone and will take appropriate action if the content violates the community guidelines. Very exciting. The report also detailed what it called egregious cases of copyright infringement and plagiarism from anti-Markle and royal family-focused YouTube channels. What the F? According to the report, at least 22 channels published thousands of videos made by converting news articles to audio with text-to-speech tools. I mean, okay. Do those copyright holders want to file complaints? I can't. All right. A majority of the 34,000 videos did not credit the article or news organization they were taken. The videos received over 441 million views. Well, maybe they don't care about that or whatever. Did your articles get converted to speech? I mean, I suppose I'm literally reading every single word of your article, but then again, I am criticizing the hell out of it because it's dumb and you're dumb and you're calling for censorship, which is contra to your own interests as a supposedly free press. But, you know, you do you. Why should this matter to the average person? Good question. According to Boys, and again, how Boys got to be the authority here remains a mystery, a lack of follow-through with YouTube content moderation only puts the average person in more danger. Okay. In addition to these videos pushing a narrative of racism and misogyny, how are they misogynistic? How are they misogynistic? In what way are they misogynistic? Even assuming we could define a woman, let's just take it as a given that Meghan Markle is, for the purposes of this exercise, a woman. So we'll define woman to at least include Meghan Markle to make this easier. Okay. How is it misogyny? Is it misogyny merely because we have a negative opinion? Is it misogyny merely because we have negative views of her actions, her behavior, her podcast, how she conducts herself? I mean, she didn't get invited to go see the Queen as she was dying. So there seems to be some hurt feelings on the other side of the pond, too. So there seems to be some points of criticism, at least according to the royal family there is. Maybe not the biggest fans of Meghan Markle. Maybe other people also have some negative views of her, or not. I don't really have an opinion of Meghan Markle either way. I don't care about her. She, amazingly enough, and this will come as a massive shock to many of you, I'm sure, she does not really cross my radar. She is not really someone I follow, so I don't really have a strong opinion about her. But if you have a strong opinion about her and you'd like to express that opinion, is that misogyny? Is negativity, criticism, the same thing as hate? This article seems to conflate all these things. I think it's one of those situations where the demand for prejudice outstrips supply. Right? The demand for there to be more racism outstrips supply. So they have to say more things are racism than there actually are. We'd like to complain about the racism, but not enough things are racism. So we'll pretend more things are racism. The demand outstrips supply. And I think probably for the misogyny too. How is it misogyny? Are you telling me those titles were misogynistic? Is that the proposition you want to support? Really? Okay. In addition to pushing the racism and misogyny that could twist a viewer's worldview, Boys believes unchecked policies mean a higher likelihood of targeted harassment towards all people, like journalists or private individuals. Oh my God. My guys, I guess I owe Rolling Stone here an apology, because I have been very deliberately for the last 26 minutes expressing negative views against journalists. One specific journalist, to be precise, and one specific publication that published it. But I'm bad. I'm bad because I've engaged apparently in targeted harassment because I have an opinion about the article and that being stupid and inherently self-contradictory. And yeah, okay. Boys tells Rolling Stone he's not trying to target free speech. Really? He just wants YouTube to enforce its own policies. Really? You're not targeting free speech? Seriously? Are you sure? Are you sure? When you talk about targeted harassment to journalists, for example, you're not targeting free speech? You sure? I'm not so sure. I think a platform as big as YouTube with billions of views, they have a responsibility now. This is not 1999. What the hell? Did free speech ideals change since 1999? This is not the early days of the internet. A lot of folks consume their news on these platforms, and whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, they have responsibility now to protect their users from some of this toxic stuff. Toxic being speech I don't like and opinions I don't like, and mean things that are said about people, apparently. And if they're not willing to do that, we need legislation to push them in that direction. Again, are you sure you're not targeting free speech and you only want YouTube to enforce its policies? Are you sure? You really are saying that you're not targeting free speech and you only want YouTube to enforce their policies? Because we need legislation to push them in that direction. Seems like it might challenge that premise to me. Well, this has been a pile of stupid. This pile of stupid has been brought to you by journalist, and I use that term very loosely, C.T. Jones. And C.T. Jones, I have to say your article is dumb. It is stupid. That Bout Sentinel is also dumb and stupid. They're not calling for the restriction of freedom of speech, except they're totally calling for legislation to do exactly that by their own admission. And you're giving them this basically op-ed. So it's really by Bot Sentinel. I don't even know why your name is on the byline, to be quite honest, because Bot Sentinel might as well wrote this. And Bot Sentinel's best examples, apparently, of the targeted harassment, misogyny, racism was, quote, booed at Buckingham, Meg puce with rage, as mourners scream loudest booed, Meg back as Queen's dead, and she's unwelcome. Meghan can't hide despair over absence in Scotland after Queen's death report. This was the best. This was the best the bot Sentinel can give them, and for reasons that pass my understanding, Rolling Stone, which should understand the value of freedom of speech, is letting people call for legislation that would to stop this. So yeah. So that's all the pile of stupid. So yeah. Okay. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this this article and the end of this stupid. So I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I enjoyed this live stream. I enjoyed hanging with you. And I hope that if you have not already, you'll be so kind as to subscribe to this channel. May I invite you to check out the like button, or to check out the membership, because as you saw, we have the names of the uncivilians on screen, and you're thinking to yourself, hey, I see a bunch of names on screen at the top of the screen. Who are these uncivilians? Why are these names here? How can I get my name on this list? Well, my friends, it could not be easier. All you have to do is hit the join button, or hit the link that the bot tells you about from time to time, or the link in the description to join the channel for a mere 99 cents. You too can become an uncivilian. You get your name on screen to show that you are one of the supporters of the channel. You get a cool little icon by your name of the scales of justice, and you get to feel just that much better about yourself compared to everyone else who doesn't have the scales, who are not as cool as you. And it only costs you 99 cents a month. It's literally the least they'll let me charge you. And now that box looks a lot better. That looks a lot better on that screen, thank God. $2 super chats is Rolling Stone facilitating his hate and vitriol. Yeah, a little bit there. So yeah, all those good stuff. So hey, we learn as we do. All right, I'm going to oh, by the way, I will be doing Alex Jones tomorrow. So for those of you who are wondering, will I or won't I? Yes, I will. I will do it at least another day. And we get to hear even more from the corporate representative for free speech systems. I know how excited you are, because her enthralling testimony continues for another day. And we get to hear it together for another day. And so we get to tune in for that. Exciting. So we will tune in. So please tune in tomorrow. I believe it starts 10 a.m. Eastern time. And we will be here, and I will have a link just as soon as, I have somewhere to go to get it. So probably won't be much notice, but if you're looking forward to that, you can look forward to that. And we will do it more together. Should be fun. Until later, my friends, I hope all is well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.